You know how people say your life can change in just one day? I used to think that was just a dramatic saying, until my day came. It was a Wednesday morning in Pretoria. Sunny, quiet, like any other day. The kind of morning where nothing seems out of place. Birds chirping. Taxis honking in the distance. That familiar rush hour rhythm. I left home around 6:30 a.m., like I did every day for 8 straight years. I remember it vividly. I'd ironed my navy blue suit the night before, matched it with my favorite striped tie. You know, that feeling of pride when you're doing well at your job, providing for your family. As I adjusted my tie in the mirror, I called out to my wife, Thandi, who was sitting at the dining table scrolling on her phone. "Hey, babe, I'm heading out. Want me to bring something back?" She barely looked up. "No, I'm fine," she muttered, thumbs tapping the screen. I paused, half expected her to say, "Drive safe," or "Good luck today." But nothing, just silence. I brushed it off. Maybe she was tired. We'd both been a little distant lately. But I thought it was just a phase. By 8 a.m., I was at the bank, Absa Bank, Pretoria branch, greeting clients, cracking small jokes with my colleagues. I loved my job. I wasn't the richest man, but I was proud of what I did. I helped people make sense of their finances, start small businesses, manage debts. Around 11 a.m., while explaining a loan structure to a young couple, my phone buzzed. It was a message from my manager, Mr. Makona. "Manla, come up to my office. Urgent." My heart skipped. He rarely messaged like that. But I told myself it was probably about the new quarterly targets. I straightened my jacket, smiled at my clients, and made my way up to the 3rd floor. When I walked in, Mr. Makona was standing by the window. He didn't smile. He didn't even offer me a seat. Instead, he turned around slowly, an envelope in his hand. "Manla," he said, voice low. "This came from head office." I frowned, took the envelope, and opened it. My eyes scanned the first line, and I swear I felt my knees weaken due to organizational restructuring. "Your services are no longer required." I froze. I blinked, hoping I was reading it wrong. "Sir, what is this?" He sighed, looking genuinely sorry. "I wish I had an answer, Manla. It's not about performance. It's a head office decision. But my last review was excellent." I protested. "I've hit every target for 2 years straight. He cut me off softly. I know. You've been one of my best employees. But they're cutting costs. I fought for you, but..." His words faded. My ears were ringing. I felt numb, walking out of that office, carrying a cardboard box with my personal items. The family photo, my coffee mug, the little plant on my desk. It didn't feel real. Colleagues avoided eye contact. A few whispered, "Sorry, man," as I passed. But nothing hurt more than thinking about how to tell Thandi. Still, I tried to stay hopeful. "She'll understand," I told myself. "She's my wife. We'll face this together." But when I got home that evening, everything I believed about love and loyalty came crashing down. I walked into the living room, set my box down, and called out, "Babe, we need to talk." She didn't even look up from the TV. "What now, Manla?" she sighed, annoyed. Something about her tone already told me this wouldn't go well. I sat down, hands shaking slightly. "They laid me off today. The bank is downsizing. Head office said..." She cut me off before I could finish. "So, what are you saying? You're jobless now?" I blinked, confused. "Well, for now, yes, but I'll find something soon. I just need..." She scoffed. "You? Find something? Manla, the job market is terrible. How do you expect to pay the bills? The car? The bond? My salon money?" That last part stung. Her salon money. I swallowed hard. "Thandi, I just lost my job. Can you at least be supportive for one day?" She stood up, folded her arms, and looked me dead in the eyes. "Supportive? For how long, Manla? I can't be taking care of a grown man. If you can't provide, then you should move in with your brother until you get back on your feet." At first, I thought she was joking. I even laughed nervously. "You're kidding, right?" but her face stayed cold. No, Manla, this marriage can't work if you're not pulling your weight. That night, I slept on the couch. The next morning, she was up early, packing my clothes into boxes. No tears, no emotion, just humming softly as she folded my shirts. That was the moment I realized this wasn't about money. It was about respect. And the cruelest irony, the very house she was kicking me out of was bought with my savings. But I didn't fight. I just walked away. For the next 2 weeks, I stayed with my younger brother, Lorado, in his small flat in Sunnyside. It wasn't much: one bedroom, a couch, and a noisy ceiling fan that barely worked. But at least it was peaceful. Lorado tried his best to lift my mood. Don't worry, bro. You're smart. You'll get back on your feet. I nodded, but inside I felt hollow. Every morning, I sent out job applications. Nothing. The rejections came faster than my hopes could rise. I'd wake up, stare at the ceiling, and wonder how everything collapsed so quickly. One evening, Lorado came home from work holding a newspaper. "You see this?" he said, tossing it on the table. "The bank's restructuring hit hundreds of people. You're not alone." I appreciated the effort, but it didn't change the pain. Then came the rumors. A mutual friend mentioned that Thandi had moved her mother and cousin into the house, the same house I paid for. They were living comfortably, hosting dinners, even posting photos online. I saw one on Facebook. Thandi smiling in front of my car, captioned, "Family time is everything." I laughed bitterly. Family time, indeed. But one night, sitting on a balcony with a cheap beer in hand, it hit me. The house documents, the title deed, the ownership papers, they were still in my name. And right there, something inside me shifted. I didn't act out of anger. No, I waited. I planned. Because revenge that's rushed often backfires. I reached out to an old client, Mr. Dlamini, a real estate investor who once told me, "If you ever want to sell your property, Manla, call me first." I called him. "Mr. Dlamini, I think I'm ready to sell that house in Arcadia." He was delighted. Within a week, his people came to inspect. Meanwhile, I kept a straight face, no social media posts, no hints. Even Lorado had no idea. Thandi probably thought I was still sulking somewhere, job hunting hopelessly. But I was building my escape plan. When the offer came through, I couldn't believe it. The buyer was willing to pay more than market value. I signed the deal quietly, transferred the funds into a new offshore account, and closed every joint account linked to Thandi. A few days later, I bought a one-way ticket to the United States. I'd always wanted to go, to start fresh somewhere new. I had an old friend, Tebogo, who lived in Texas. He'd been telling me for years, "Manla, there's opportunity here. You just need courage." That courage finally arrived. On the morning I left South Africa, I stood outside Lorado's flat, looking at the city skyline one last time. "You wanted me gone, Thandi," I whispered. "Well, now you got your wish." 3 weeks later, while I was settling into my new life in New York, chaos was erupting in Pretoria. Thandi was still living her best life. Brunches, selfies, hair appointments, until one Thursday morning. There was a knock at the door. She opened it to find a man in a suit, holding a clipboard. "Good morning, ma'am. I'm here on behalf of the new owner. We'll be starting renovations next week." Thandi blinked. "New owner? What are you talking about? My husband owns this house." The man smiled politely. "I'm afraid that's no longer accurate. The property has been sold. You'll need to vacate within 7 days." For a moment, she thought it was a prank. But when he showed her the official documents, signed, stamped, sealed, her face turned pale. Her mother fainted. Her cousin screamed. That same evening, my phone exploded with missed calls and messages. "Manla, what did you do? Please, we can fix this. You can't just sell our house." I read them all and didn't reply. Because some lessons don't need explanations. Landing in New York was like stepping into another world. Cold air, tall buildings, fast people. But for the first time in a long while, I felt free. I started small, got a job at a community financial center helping immigrants open bank accounts. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me purpose again. I enrolled in online courses, financial planning, tech entrepreneurship, digital marketing. I was rebuilding piece by piece. It wasn't easy. There were nights I missed home, nights I wondered if I had made a mistake. But every morning when I looked in the mirror, I saw a man taking back his power. 6 months later, I co-founded a small startup helping African entrepreneurs access microloans in the U.S. It took off faster than I imagined. Within a year, we had investors. Within 2, I was running webinars, mentoring young South Africans, teaching them how to start over abroad. And then, one night, as I was preparing a presentation, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Thandi. "Manla, I'm sorry for everything. Can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I smiled, not out of pride, not out of bitterness, but peace. I typed back 2 words. "I've healed." Months later, I was invited to speak at a business conference in Johannesburg. At first, I wanted to say no, but something told me to go, to face my past, not as the broken man who left, but as the one who rebuilt. The hall was packed, cameras flashing. I spoke about resilience, about how sometimes losing everything can lead you to find yourself. After my talk, people lined up for photos. As I was about to leave, I noticed her, standing at the back, clutching her handbag. Thandi. She looked different, smaller somehow, not the proud woman who once kicked me out of my own home. She walked up slowly. "Manla," she said softly, "I heard about your company. I just wanted to say congratulations." I smiled politely. "Thank you, Thandi. I hope you're doing well." Her eyes dropped. "I'm trying. Life hasn't been easy." There was a long silence. Then I said, "Sometimes losing everything is what teaches us what really matters." She nodded, eyes glistening. "I know." But it wasn't my job to comfort her anymore. I shook her hand and walked away, lighter than I had ever felt. Today, I live in Dallas, running a thriving financial consultancy for African immigrants. I wake up early, take walks, mentor others, and sometimes share my story online, the one you're hearing right now. Losing my job was painful. Being betrayed by the woman I love broke me. But you know what? That pain shaped me. It pushed me to build something greater. I learned that revenge doesn't always mean hurting the other person. Sometimes it means outgrowing them so completely they become irrelevant. And now, when I think back to that morning in Pretoria, the envelope, the heartbreak, the humiliation, I smile. Because that was the day life gave me a second chance disguised as tragedy. So if you're watching this and you've been betrayed, abandoned, or underestimated, remember, you don't have to get even. Just get better. Because the best revenge is becoming everything they said you couldn't be.